I haven't thought of much, but here's a nice quote from Baba. There's one Baba person that lives here in Myrtle Beach who met Baba back in the 50s, and in 62, Tom Riley. And when he came in to the lagoon cabin to meet Baba for the first time, he was introduced by John Bass, who said, "This is Tom Riley. He's an artist from New York." And then Baba spontaneously wrote, signed this, or I guess, gestured this, and Erich read it. Baba said, "Yoga for the East is a means toward the fulfillment of the spiritual life." Oh, okay, I'll start over. Yoga for the East is a means toward the fulfillment of the spiritual life, just as art in the West is a process toward the realization of the sacred within. I'll read that one again. This is what Baba said right there. Yoga for the East is a means toward the fulfillment of the spiritual life, just as art in the West is a process toward the realization of the sacred within.
That's cool.
So we got something, under the hood back there. Here's another one from Rumi. Faith is a sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you to place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world. You follow that? I'll read that again. Faith is the sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you to place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world. So if you don't make any effort, you just might wind up in Taco Bell in the mall. That would be terrible.
Misha Rutenberg has a beautiful song, "Raise Your Sail." It's from that poem, I know.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
Beautiful.
Here's a beautiful one by Francis Brabazon. Men are born and are reborn until they die into the deathless and are never born again. But one man, being birthless and deathless, takes birth again and again because of the cry of the world for relief from the burden of living and to mirror himself in the tears of his lovers.
Can you read that one again?
Yeah. Men are born and are reborn until they die into the deathless and are never born again. But one man, being birthless and deathless, takes birth again and again because of the cry of the world for relief from the burden of living and to mirror himself in the tears of his lovers. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. Here's one last one from Rumi. The body is like Mary, and each of us has a Jesus within. If pain and suffering come, our Jesus will be born. But if no pain comes, Jesus will return to his origin on that same hidden road by which he came, and we will be deprived of his divine splendor.
Oh.
Yeah. Here's another one that I remember. I don't have it right with me, but the beloved is a master tailor. But unless you gather the scattered strands of your life into a single thread, how will they be able to pass through his needle? Succeed in this, and day by day, the beloved will sew you into the magnificent tapestry of his own being.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody have any story or anything to share? Priya sometimes has things.
I do, Bob. Well, I'm hoping at some point we will go back to you sharing about that practice, that inner life practice. You gave a very short glimpse the last time about waking up in the morning and
Yeah. Do some of you remember that?
a little bit.
So this is something from back in the early 70s. Darwin Shaw used to say there's an invisible current in each of us. But that invisible current is at the heart level. It's from the heart. Most people aren't even aware of it consciously. But he said that the inner current, the invisible current of most people is going toward, he used to gesture toward I, my, me, and mine. It's going toward me. That current has to be reversed. We have to flow out to life and flow into Baba. Now, now, how do you know that that current is even there? Say, Priya, you're there and you're in a nice mood and everything, and someone that you've had a painful time with in the past suddenly breaks in through the door. Suddenly something will stop in you. That what stops is that invisible current. And then what happens when that current stops, then the work begins to get that current flowing out to that person. Even though you may keep a distance from them physically, this is at an internal level. Because if whoever you don't flow out to, you diminish yourself by that much. You know, if you don't like, you know, if you say you don't like, who should I say? I mean, say certain types of people you don't like. The people that are very rich and are snobby and look down on you. You have to flow, you know, if you don't flow out to them, that part of you that's like them will shut down. You'll diminish yourself. So anyway, that's to be aware. I mean, in fact, I mean, Erich encouraged me to be aware of that current all day long, to check in. Am I flowing? Am I stalled? Am I receding? That's at the heart level. It's a combination of love and vitality. So it just means you bring your consciousness, and most people's consciousness is up here, and you bring it down here, and then you get a reading on, you check out the weather, so to speak, or the barometer. You can say it's an inner barometer, and to see where you're at. And then you can proactively get that current going. And there are a lot of different ways of getting that current going. It can be Baba's name. It can be playing with kids. It can be an outer activity or an inner activity. You know, it's, but You can be saying Baba's prayers, Baba's name, reading Rumi, mystical poetry, whatever. So I'll describe kind of what happens to me is when I wake up in the morning, you know, I come up into all my sanskars, my conditioning, my heaviness, and I'm groggy for a while, you know. So with Baba's name, I gradually, I'm basically stopped. So then with Baba's name and centering in Baba, eventually I get that current flowing. That flow. In fact, I kind of get to Baba's presence and he gets the current flowing. And so I do that from early morning until 8:30 when I go into work, so that the impressions that I woke up with, I've transmuted them with Baba's name and centering in Baba while I'm doing my morning routine, so that by the time I go into work, that new living substance is what fuels my day. Does that make sense?
You changed your channel.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is what happened. I'm just describing. This is just my particular practice. Then what happens? This is an interesting thing. Sometimes in the afternoon, I actually experience myself as stalling out. You know, I stall. So when I stall, when that current stops flowing, this is what I experience it. When that current stalls out, Baba seems like he's at a distance. When the current was flowing, it was kind of right with me. But when I stall out, he seems like he's at a distance. When that current stalls out, I don't know what to do next. So my mind comes down and gives me all these various options. But the mind is not where I want to be coming from. But in other words, rather than what I want to do is get the flow going, because if the flow is going, then it leads to what to do next. But most people, they go and they say, oh, I feel kind of bored, or I feel kind of dead. Oh, what should I do, mind? And they ask this, and the mind drops down all these alternatives. Whereas you could go right to the flow that's stalled and work with that. Now, working with that can be what gets your flow going. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, like in the middle of the day, I might go play some volleyballs. That might get my flow going, or playing with a little kid. Or it can be, saying Baba's name, or it can be singing. It can be talking about Baba. Everybody has a different way of getting that flow going, but it's being proactive about it. And also when that flow stops, everything becomes ordinary. Life becomes just ordinary, and who wants an ordinary life? But when that flow is happening, there's kind of a sparkle. There's some kind of a luster, a lightness to it. So that's a practice. That's a practice that I kind of inherited from Darwin and Erich, which I've translated it into my own life in my own way. So that's that invisible current, invisible inner current. You can change your life proactively without having to change the externals. Most people are trying to think, oh, what can I do to get excited? What can I do to feel happy? But very often it's an internal thing. I don't know if that makes. You're not you're muted. Huh?
I said that makes complete sense.
Yeah. I mean, you can try it and see how it works. Hey, Alan, good. Hey, back on the campus for another semester.
Yeah, it was a long summer there.
Yeah. No, they were just asking, I think I've mentioned this to you before about this invisible current. I mean, any questions about that, or it's, but
Well,
it's,
I have a
go ahead.
question.
Yeah,
So when you're talking about the current that that for some times in our life there's that blockage, and it's something that I wrote a letter to you about, Jeff.
yeah. You got my answer, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, good.
I wasn't able to respond because of
Yeah.
but yeah, I was just thinking, because you said something like, what if you did the wild thing of giving this blockage is to Baba? Like, what if it was, you did that wild thing? And I was like, what makes that, is that word, like what would make that wild? Because and I found that, like, I was stuck in this place of, I really don't want to give this suffering to you, Baba. I don't want to even look at you. I'm so disgusted with everything that's happening in myself and what I perceive is happening in the world. So all my methods became basically frozen in this stuck thing of, like, the flow, just the machine, the mechanism was like not flowing whatsoever. And when you say ordinary, it was like, that's truly what it feels like. It feels like, I almost remember what it was like before Baba was in my life. It was very, there's an isolation feeling, or that distance is quite painful. So yeah, I was just wondering if you could share more about, for anybody else in the world who might, be going through this practice, and then one day might find a big boulder suddenly falls on their heart, and they can't really budge it.
Yeah, where everything just stops and you can't seem to get anything flowing again.
Yeah.
You know what I do, and I've had that happen, and boy, I just go off somewhere. Well, I would check into the center and just kind of say Baba's name for days and just try to get something going. Not even trying to think of how to get out of I'm just saying this is my method, not even thinking about how to get out of it, because thinking about it is another form of being stopped. There's the line from Einstein where he says, no problem can be solved with the same consciousness that went into creating it. So, so I sometimes have had to just basically take myself out of the game of life and kind of build up enough, so that I can get the flow. I mean, thought could be, penetrating the complex that's stopping me can be helpful if I do it with the heart and not the mind. But sometimes I've had to do Baba's name until I actually get going again. I'm not Baba's name up in the head, but Baba's name from the heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you find, well, I was finding that and I still find that Baba, at the most random moments, not like something I was planning, or like I didn't go to meditate, and I don't meditate. I just was in the middle of work, and I kind of just glanced over for a split second, and I saw he caught my eye. I just looked at him right in the eye, and it was like he was just there. It was just all of a sudden, in the middle of all the stress and all the work I was doing, and the people that were yelling in my ear, in my headset, like for work, it was like he was just there, and everything, nothing else mattered. And then that was probably a good 15 seconds, and then he like kind of kicked me back into the system, and I was like, what the heck is that about? But you know, yeah,
Well, you're lucky you're getting a flash of his being there.
yeah,
Some people, they don't even get that for days,
yeah,
you know. Um, I mean, as always say that on an overcast day, people say the sun isn't out.
right.
You know, when our mind is overcast, we say Baba isn't there, but that's only because of the clouds that are blocking. But he those have to come up too. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
my experience was with Baba over the years was I would kind of get my life kind of harmonized and I would be in a nice state of consciousness. And then Baba would dump dump a whole truckload of stuff from my subconscious down on my conscious life, and everything would be kind of lost. I'd lose the harmony, I'd lose that immediacy of Baba's presence, and I'd have to work for months until I got it all nice and neat again. And then another truckload of stuff from the landfill would be dumped into my consciousness, and I'd have to work at it. That went on for years.
mm,
I mean, that's his job, is to clear out the subconscious, and you are the recipient
mhm,
of that. And eventually, you work your way through, and you can ride on that harmony and that centeredness for a while, and then more stuff may come.
yeah. It felt like a big thorn that was kind of, I suppose like I didn't really want to look at it, and then really just felt like, you know, because what happened was when my mom got really sick, it was like I got the call, and then the hospital was like, you know, she may or may not make it. Like I just got the sudden call, like your mom's, you know, appendix burst, and it's been like that for 4 days. She hasn't seen anybody, you know, and she's been getting more and more sick. And the second that happened, I was like, I remember just being by myself and like, Baba, I don't know what it was. I like got so something really ancient, like I said in the letter, something really
Yeah.
ancient came up, and I was like, got so angry. I was like, don't you do this to me. It was like a real like, like how dare. It was like the thing I would sometimes bring up with you, Jeff, like, you know, hey, I really enjoy these meetings and I love when we talk, but sometimes I get this like eerie feeling that like if Baba was to take away that thing in my life, I don't know how I'd be. I remember I said that a few times where I was like,
Mhm.
if Baba took away my mom, took away my wife or something, my job, or I don't know how I would really react. And it happened. And it was
Yeah.
like, he didn't take away my mom, but it was more like in the moment I faced that, and it just brought up that sludge of ancient, like just
Yeah.
resentment. I don't know. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I sometimes say if I was in charge of creation, I would, the creator, preserver, destroyer, I would have a lot of creation and preservation going on, but not much destruction. And boy, this place would be a mess.
Yeah.
Baba has to combine all three, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And but he really does free us up from bit by bit over the years.
Yeah.
You when you're younger, I mean, the big chunks come down.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that you had some of those bigger chunks in the
Yeah,
early times.
yeah, it's kind of mellowed out a little bit. Knock on wood here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great gift though, you know, for me, just because going around and the stresses of life are there's like something I was reading with Don when he was talking in this book. He was just talking about like you at the same time you're in the midst of intense activity, you know, in a busy, bustling life, and you've got everything going on. And at another moment, Baba brings these things up, but there's also, he's the sustainer. He's sustaining you as you're also going through these incredible, you know, journeys of pain and suffering and turmoil. It's like he's also sustaining you with just as much of that unconditional love and acceptance for who you are completely. And there's that peace in your heart. So there's that peace in your heart, but there's also, you look out in the world and you're like, everything's falling apart, or your mind is falling apart. And but he is. So
Yeah.
that's been a gift. That's been a gift lately. Work is not as stressful, I could say. Thank God.
Mani used to give the figure of a potter who's spinning a pot, and he's got his hand on the inside, you know, keeping the interior and beating it on the outside with a stick, but on the inside, supporting the wall of the pot that he's making from the inside.
Wow, that's
basically unseen. Whereas I like this one. This was a quote I liked of Rumi. Dear one, why do you complain about the master's harshness? When a man beats a carpet with a stick, don't say he's being cruel. He's merely getting rid of the dust.
wow. Wow. That's, I'll take that one with me tonight. Yeah. Wow.
So Jeff,
Yeah.
there's a story of the donkey Darwin Shaw mentioned in his book. You know, remember that donkey that the guy was trying to sell his donkey and he started beating him up?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if I can find that.
It's very appropriate.
Yeah, this is it.
I can relate to that big time.
Okay, this is Darwin in this book. He says we, I mean, you know, we as aspirants, we are like the mule a fellow is negotiating to buy. Does he obey? The buyer asks the owner. Sure, the owner replies. Show me, the buyer demands. The owner then picks up a big stick and starts beating the mule over the head. Hey, what are you doing? Cries the buyer. You said the mule obeys. He does, says the owner, but first I have to get his attention.
Yeah.
I love this. I just love
Really true, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a, I'll send it to you, or at some time I can show you. Hey, do you only do these things, by the way, every Sunday now, Jeff? Is that-
Every Sunday and Tuesday, but not this Tuesday because I'm going to be distracted
Okay.
by who's
Jeff,
going to
Yeah,
election.
Jeff, you're gonna vote in the morning. This
Oh,
chat is like after 10 o'clock at night. Why are you gonna do distract since the morning until night? Or are you gonna watch all the
Well,
posts to see who won?
Yeah, that's it. And plus, you folks won't even be in any condition.
You're gonna be watching TV all day and night to see who won.
I think I will.
You're gonna follow.
Doesn't Baba say stay out of politics?
Yeah,
Not
I'm
this
just,
one.
I'm just, Marcia, I'm just going into politics with my mind, but not my body.
Oh, okay.
This is.
I thought you didn't vote, Jeff, because a majority of Baba lovers don't vote. They just refuse
no.
to be
Oh,
involved in
no, I voted. I voted.
Yeah, no, I voted. I
You
voted
gotta
some
vote.
time back.
too. I'm gonna vote it, you know. I am.
Yeah, if you can get there to the poll.
The pool is next door from my house.
I know,
It's
but
2 steps.
they're putting up barricades. You're not
No
going to be able
way.
to get there.
It's a church. They're not gonna do that in a church.
In the last, some elections, they
I
have
have no
one
excuse.
polling place for a whole city. Oh my God, right? Oh, right.
Yeah. Any,
Jeff,
go ahead. Yeah.
Rumi often talks about the mystery of, die before you die.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Prophet Muhammad.
Ah,
To die before you die means that you realize that you are not Priya. Priya becomes just a vehicle. You no longer are her. So you have died to your lower self so that you can be born into your higher self. I'll tell you, some of the people have heard this, but when I was there with Darwin Shaw, I was quite young. He turned to me one day. He didn't normally offer anything, but he turned to me and he said, "Jeff, you are not the personality self." This is Darwin Shaw. You mean I'm not Jeff? I mean, I inside I thought, this isn't me. Up to that point, I thought, well, the whole thing was to get to know me so well, and then improve me and improve me and improve me until I reached the goal. And here Darwin is saying, you are not the personality self. He used to say, the personality self is just a storefront for the soul. And we make such big a deal over these window displays and we change them with the seasons when we could go inside and enjoy the priceless merchandise. So when he said that to me, I had no place to put it. What if someone, what is it? When I say Priya, you're not Priya Ganjwani. What can you do with that?
yeah, I don't know.
But that's a whole journey. That's a whole evolution. But if you're going to die to yourself, you're going to have to die to Priya. But if you die to Priya,
Basically,
you'll have a more beautiful life.
Jeff, is that the same thing as saying, when Baba says, leave all and come to me, it's like, is it more of it's an internal renunciation rather than, leave your job and your family and your responsibility? Yeah. You kind of are letting go or releasing your attachments, basically. Is that sort of the similar?
Yeah. I mean, Baba says it in so many different ways, the same thing. That we have to rise above our personality self, our finite self, and move into our infinite self. And meaning, Baba would also say, take God seriously and yourself lightly. But we do it the other way around.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I found a recording of you asking Jeff or asking Erich in the 70s about what is the point of or something. I forgot what it is, but I have the link. I'll send it.
Oh, really? Wow. I hadn't heard any of those things.
Yeah, it was it was kind of shocking because I was listening to Erich and then I was like, hey, whoever's asking this question really sounds like Jeff. And then all of a sudden Erich was like, yeah, yes, Jeff, yes. And I was like, oh, whoa. Like,
who is that idiot? Oh my God. I think
No, it's something about the goal of life, like something about the ego's goal. Like, what is our ultimate goal of what we're doing? I forgot. I mean, I have it. I have it here.
It'd be very interesting, but
yeah, I'll send it.
I didn't hesitate to ask questions, especially about the inner life. And Erich was all up for that. He never minded that. They weren't idle questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So dive before you die. It basically, instead of Priya being the base of operations, Priya becomes a vehicle. And what's deep within goes through you, goes through you rather than from you. That's a whole internal revolutionary turn in ourself to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Nice.
But it's liberating.
Indeed. Can be very, very freeing.
But it's something, he said that to me, and it was like a termites that went in and just started eating away from my ideas of who I was. It is very gradually, but it just, you know, it's like a termites eating the foundation of your house. And before you know it, Priya is just all eaten out. She's just skin. No organs, no bones, anything.
Wow.
She's all eaten out,
That's
hollowed
rough.
out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, would you like to hear yourself, Jeff?
Well, that would be interesting. Yeah, I haven't, I didn't even know they were taping those things.
Yeah, well, I'll show you. I'll show you guys. I don't know if everybody doesn't mind. I mean, it's
Oh, fine.
This is Erich himself. That's worth it.
Yeah.
Yes, this is from, oh, sorry, this is January 9th, 1982, not the 70s. January 9th, 1982. Pull up the photo here. Oh, I got a screen share. Kind of been a second since I've done all this. Share computer sound. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, we see Baba and yeah.
All right, just let me know if you can hear this.
As we are asserting, we have got into the rut of asserting. How to get out of it?
Did you hear anything?
Yeah, we hear that.
Okay. So I'm gonna go to that moment where you ask a question. If I can turn that up.
I won him over. Won that Frankenstein that was created by me.
Eric, would be then like the ego looks at this game and thinks I'm going to become great. The end result of this game is I'm going to become great, whereas the game itself is that I become nothing.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
the
nothing.
ego thinks, well, I'm probably going to become God. I'm going to get great and everything, but as it turns out, I just am.
No, you see, the thing is that, Jeff, what you say is right. But what is it that your ego says I'm great? It is true, you're great. There's no doubt about it.
Well,
Because you're linked with that greatness. Because your ego has percolated through the realms of reality and has established itself in this illusory form. And therefore the assertions continue. But here, your greatness is in being great, influential, can supersede somebody, press somebody, put somebody down, and rise yourself above others. That is your greatness. That's how you translate that being great. Yeah, that ego that is there. I am the only one. Isn't it an ego? It's the supreme ego, you see. The I amness of him, who is totally independent and all by himself, you see. When it gets translated, these are the resultant effects of these things. Your assertions, your wanting to be great, you want to supersede others and all that sort of thing. You can't tolerate anybody else other than yourself. Why? Because he can't do it. You follow it. Because there's nobody besides him. But when it comes, you see, you are so linked with him that all these traits that you manifest are translated from the realms of reality into illusion. And when they get translated, they are relative. And you get entrenched in these relative existence of yours. That's how it is.
yeah. In other words, if there wasn't God at the heart of this, I would never even get the ideas in my head that I might become great.
No, you won't be, because it is because of him that you feel yourself great, you feel yourself this, and you feel that and that. And when you feel great, because you are in the realm of duality, you feel small, you feel dejected. You see, because that that infinite attribute translated into realm of illusion has a dual aspect. the opposite side of it, relative existence. Really speaking, there is
You
no,
also get the other experience of being really small, lowly, and this and that.
because of illusion. Otherwise, there is no such thing as small. When it is translated into illusion, then that infinite bliss translated here, misery and happiness. Yeah. Happiness, we talk in terms of happiness. We never talk in terms of bliss. You follow? But bliss is that transcends happiness and misery is bliss.
Without the negative side, we would never know.
But without negative side, we'll never know what bliss is, you see. So these experiences make us fed up of all these things and we give up. When we give up, he takes over and he manifests himself. And when he manifests,
Wow, I couldn't quite hear it all, but I got the general drift.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, let me pause that.
But the I like that at the end when when you give up, he takes over.
Yeah,
That's kind of when you die to yourself, then he takes over. That's
yeah. You asked that question in 1982.
I'd like to actually, yeah, I hope I can get a transcript of that because it was hard for me to. I don't know if I've got a good recorder.
I can transcribe it. It's pretty easy. I mean, it's very.
It could be.
I'll just transcribe it and email it.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't remember the conversation.
Yeah, well, you probably had many.
Yeah, many exchanges, but but he is saying that that God comes down and into the relative, and what is like bliss gets kind of converted into misery and happiness, you know. All the things kind of get, when they come into the relative world, they split up into opposites. I'm great, I'm nobody, I'm terrible, all of that. But from there, everything is kind of one. But anyway, that would be great to get that conversation. I think it'd be. So
Yeah.
Terry and Diane, you have anything over there to say? Anything?
You know, I guess I do have a question.
Yeah.
So when you would go to India and Baba's no longer there, the Mandali would be there for you to visit with and just sit and have philosophical, spiritual conversations all day long?
Well, some of them were, but it really they were like your favorite aunts and uncles. So it was just wonderful to hang out with them. Some of them, like like Erich, got into some of this inner stuff, but a lot of the others, they would kind of smuggle you over and give you something that they had just cooked, you know, or some little treat. I mean, there were a lot of, they were all so different. But Erich was very good. You could, he had a certain knowing that it was fun to be around. Besides, they were all great storytellers. You'd be totally wrapped up in listening to going on journeys with Baba, as they would describe them.
They taught you well.
Yeah, it was fascinating. But
How
even
many
if you
years- How
go ahead.
many years? How
Huh?
many years ago? How old were you?
When I first went, about 26.
Wow. Do you mind saying how old you are now?
I am 70. I'm coming up to 76.
Wow.
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the first time in 50 years that I haven't gone to India.
Jeff,
But-
you are so old. I'm just joking.
One of the
76?
things.
Oh
one
my
of the
God, you
things-
look like you're 50.
Yeah, right.
I swear to God.
I
will never
I
guess.
feel like I'm about
Never-
32 now. I'm up to 32.
You're almost 80. Wow.
Now, one thing though, Diane and Terry, if you go, even though the Mandali aren't there.
Yeah, we were there in 2013.
Oh, you were, okay, so,
Now.
yeah.
It was the only, yeah.
Oh, so yeah, because even if the Mandali aren't there, Baba will fill your pockets and suitcases and
Unreal.
everything.
It was an unreal experience.
Yeah, yep,
We had more happen to us in 5 days than.
yeah.
like, people.
It's,
We were on a
yeah,
speed train. It was amazing.
yeah.
That's how I feel about this group, because I mean, we're older and yet we haven't been with Baba that long. So there's wisdom that we have from living life in a spirit way, but it's this, we feel like babies with this.
Oh,
And-
no, you'd be surprised. If everybody kind of told the story of their life, you would find out they're really not that much different from you.
Everyone has a story.
You know, it's like if you transfer from another junior high, you know, you could, you kind of get, before you know it, you're able to fit in.
Yeah,
You just transferred from another junior high.
yeah.
That's a very good,
Yeah.
Lenita, where do you live? What city?
I live in Myrtle Beach.
Oh,
Yeah.
from where?
She lives right across from the center.
Where
Yeah.
do you come from originally?
Brazil,
Brazil.
Brazil, New York, Myrtle Beach. That's my itinerary.
Yeah.
I work with a gal who's from Brazil, and I heard the sound, but I wasn't positive. So that's really
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, my accent?
Yeah.
Do I have one?
Just
Do I
tonight.
have a
I
moment?
still have my accent.
Hey,
I thought I had lost a long time ago, but I guess not.
hey, Alan, can you get Adrian to play one of those songs on the piano?
She's simultaneously in a meeting as I'm in a meeting. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
His wife is a superb singer.
Superb.
Unbelievable.
She's the best.
Oh, so you,
We have her CDs.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. She's great. Are you talking about that one of those newer piano songs, right?
Yeah. I'm blue, I'm blue, I'm blue, I'm blue. That one is beautiful. But then a song and surrender, something like that.
Yeah, Sing and Surrender.
Sing and surrender.
Yeah. She hasn't played that in a while. It'd be nice to hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mayor Prasad thinks that he can just slip in here unseen, like an invisible current. You know how he got the name Meher, like Meher Prasad?
No.
Or his experience when he was very young. He was named, well, he's from a Baba family because he's named Meher. But tell him about your little experience. When
I don't know if it's my experience, but my parents, they were, I was 2 years when they heard of Baba. Actually, maybe 2 years before my birth, they heard of Baba. And when I was born, there was Baba lovers that suggested the name Meher Prasad. So they put that name for me. And Baba dropped his body in 69 and I was 2 years old at that time. So they went to the interment in 69, between January 31 and February 7th. And they took me to Baba's Samadhi, and my mom tells me that, I cried quite a bit to put a flower on his feet. So they lowered me into the crypt, and after I put the flower, I kept quiet. That's what my mom tells me.
beautiful. And you went down the steps to Baba's body, right?
They lowered me. I don't know how they did that, but I don't know the details of it, but that's what they told me.
Well, you could walk down the steps to
Yeah.
where Baba lay. So I bet your mom probably put you on Baba's feet
Yeah.
in the
I don't
crypt.
know.
But you were bound and determined to put a flower.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, there is a place called Mandla in India where there is a replica of Baba's
Yeah.
tomb, and they actually have the crypt. You can go under the so-called tomb over there, and you can go down the steps and then come back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I went there 3 years back, 3 or 4 years back.
yeah, yeah.
I see Alan shaved his mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
it's all gone.
got to a barber, or maybe the cops picked him up or something. Hey, any things that you got there? Any readings or anything that you've been pondering?
Who?
You, Alan. Yeah,
Oh, me?
yeah.
Oh. Any readings? Well, I've been reading this chapter in Listen to Humanity from Don Stevens. It's part 3, where he's talking about personal relationship. I just thought it was a very, very beautiful written essay of his. He's like, I'm just talking to you from, a street level guy. I don't know if I'm right about what I'm saying, but this is what I'm experiencing, and this is how I experience, being with Baba. And he was just, I really appreciate his like super scientific and critical mind. So he kind of poses for both sides of like, is this guy just a fake? Is this guy just like da da da? Like presenting all of the doubts he's ever had, and then putting like points of to how he was just completely transformed, just being in the presence of the Lord. I mean, it just for him, it was like, he had so many doubts, so many critical, like, who is this person? Why is he wasting people's time to not speak? Why don't you just say what you got to say? How dare you call yourself, the avatar? He was pretty hardcore. Like, who is this guy? And just to read somebody like that who has such a strong like critical mind, and then all of a sudden being transformed, it's a pretty beautiful.
This is he was what, 28 at the time, something like that.
I'm not sure. It doesn't say his age, but yeah, he was younger. He was with the Sufism reoriented, but at that point.
Any passage there that you can put your hand on, or?
Oh, well, yeah. Personal relationship.
But while you're looking for it, I'll tell you about Don Stevens. One thing about Don Stevens, he had a great expression, a place, in an internal place to be, which he called the neutral plateau. A place inside where all of the thoughts and the feelings and emotions go by, and you stay on that neutral plateau. You don't get dragged into it. Darwin kind of calls that the level of the spirit, but similar. Don Stevens called it the neutral plateau. You observe things, but you don't get pulled in.
Yeah. There's a part here where he's talking about Meher Baba slices perpendicularly through the tangled mass and shows a wealth of warm love expressed in simple physical actions that melt the ice of human inhibition like a blowtorch. One's first reaction is often embarrassment or awkwardness at such a simple show of human affection, and one looks instinctively for the hidden booby trap. And before, he was previously talking about like a lot of us are mistrust even though it's the thing we want the most, we really want to be accepted and loved. But we were kind of suspicious of when people present something like that because we don't know if that's real. We get some little experiences of that. Certainly, there must be something back of all this, or perhaps the slap in the face will come in the next moment. Love is instinctively discounted after a few unhappy experiences. It is difficult to believe that it is true even when one experiences the real thing. After a few minutes or hours or days with Meher Baba, however, one's honest self catches on to the fact that here for the first time is spontaneous, outgoing love, which demands absolutely nothing in return. It is the sheer gift of warmth, and though it and through it, one wishes in some way to be worthy of it. How does Meher Baba express his affection for people? The first meeting may be a handshake, or a light caress of the cheek, or a warm, understanding glance. Sometimes it may be a brief embrace. However, when it has become the third, or the fifth, or the 10th meeting, it almost inevitably becomes a seconds long, gentle embrace with cheek placed carefully to cheek, and then a slight push to indicate that the greeting is at an end. Baba rarely prolongs the physical side of the salutation, but he gives it its due, and he gives it great meaning. And basically, he goes on to say these are the unarguing facts of the emotional needs and response that he provides. He basically, yeah, like I just love that he's talking about basically that so few times in our life, even though we seek it the most, we're suspicious and kind of like can't find it, but really want it and go from, I mean, in my mind, I thought further, like we go from relationship, you know, if you're the type of person to go from relationship to relationship, kind of trying to seek your ultimate love, and you're just really never finding it because no one really knows how to love. I mean, it's just, you know, the human thing, the human love. But well, I think it changes once you're in marriage for some people. But yeah, just that I feel that gentle push away from Baba for me was like in my mind at the time. These past couple months has felt like a being pushed back and down a boulder or something and falling and scraping myself and then getting up and being like, why did you do that? What the heck? You know, just being so upset and then, you know, just storming my way back up and finding that it really was necessary. There's just, it's another thing he talks about. It's the things that he would see Baba say or do, or Baba would give diamonds or sweets or all this attention to somebody who everybody in the entire room knew was a thief, was potentially a murderer, was potentially a rapist. Somebody who was like, everybody in the room looked at that person and was like, screw that guy. He's making noise. He's talking out of turn. And Baba would be like giving him all this love and affection. And to Don's mind, he's like, I don't understand from my point of view why that's happening, but I know that this is something that down the line for that soul is necessary, and for all of us it brings up the necessary gunk of, you know, judgment and criticism, and you know what you're talking about, Jeff, with keeping our heart closed for that flow for that person, because we have all these judgments about them. So anyways, that's, you know.
There was one guy, it reminds me, one guy that would come to see Baba, and the phoniness of his devotion and dedication was, it would just get to Erich each time he would have to see this, you know, and it was just clear that it was all for show. And one time, after some years of seeing this guy demonstrating this phony this phony behavior, Baba afterwards said, you know, how are you doing, Erich? How did Darshan go? Yeah, well, all right, Baba. Anything trouble you? No, everything's okay. No, and Baba got it out of him. And he finally said, Erich, you know that, I mean, he says, Baba, you know that person is not sincere at all. His devotion to you is just all all a show, you know, and it bothers me. And then Baba says, but you don't know how far he came to be just that bad. Yeah. You don't know how far he's come to be just that bad. I mean, Bob. So, yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy.
Well, that's helpful.
But here's one thing that that what you said there. Erich's view of Baba was that Baba is really like a statue. He doesn't push you away, really. If you come and you hit a statue with a certain amount of force and it hurts you, you can't say that the statue hurt you. A lot of this stuff, I mean, that was Erich's point of view. We think that Baba is doing this to us, but we're actually, our sanskars are bouncing off of him and coming back at us. Now, I don't know. He was the only mandali that gave that image of Baba. But I kind of feel, well, it depends on how you define Baba, but I am whatever you take me to be, Baba said. I've always taken Baba to be a very, more like a mother who loves me unconditionally, and a father who supports me through everything, and doesn't really disapprove of me. I've had to deal with, I realize that I'm the one that disapproves of me. Baba would, if I do something, I feel bad and everything, and I would feel from Baba, now Jeff, just relax, you make mistakes. But I always felt from Baba empathy and compassion, rather than, oh yeah, there you did it again, you know.
Yeah, that reminds me when you're saying that of the dream I had where our first meeting, and there was a specific look where he was sitting on the bed and looking at me, and it was just as if that glare or whatever it was, unblinking, it was like he had been sitting there and doing that for thousands and millions of years, and I've just been kind of running around in circles and tripping over the same stone in the same place, and finally just kind of looked up for a second and realized, like, he was just, I mean, it was just I've never seen a human expression like that, you know. It was just all of the faces all at once. Yeah, he was just there. And I was upset, but it was like, he was just there. But I was kind of, like you said, kind of projecting or bouncing off these things, and ultimately couldn't hold who I thought it was.
Yeah, it's a very, it's the most fascinating relationship to get into.
Yeah.
It's so different from a relationship with people, and at the same time, it's so much of it is like a relationship with people.
Yeah.
Hey, so I might take an early evening here, unless somebody's got anything that comes up. How's Janet Jacobs doing?
Question, Jeff, but it's kind of a anyway. I'm just can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I know we're not gonna gather on Tuesday, and I'm just wondering, you know, and you were talking about keeping that connection with Baba and keeping the flow going and all of that. And I'm just wondering if you have any suggestions for how one might approach that on Tuesday. You're right, especially if we're the kind of person that is already nervous.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I always feel react the way you naturally react. Just don't react to your reaction.
Right.
Watch,
Okay.
watch your reaction and see how your samskaras hit up against this election. see,
Okay.
see what see what happens when those two things converge.
Right. Well, I think that I'm definitely feeling some of that sanskaric being hit up against us.
Yeah, and you know, if one part of you can witness it, kind of lovingly witness it, and hope sending out. Well, I always feel you can send love to anything, especially that's disturbing. Just keep sending love to it, and it doesn't get to you quite as severely as
Ah.
if you just take it as a victim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Baba's
Okay.
name is is a is a type of shield against the worst things. Yeah.
Okay, good night, folks. I gotta go.
Yeah. See you, Lenita.
And
Welcome
Jeff,
back,
Go ahead.
Alan.
did you
Welcome
start?
back. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lenita.
Yeah. We're glad to see you. Yeah.
Yeah, you disappeared for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They finally got enough money to pay the bail. Took them about yeah.
Okay.
Is this
Goodbye.
is
Yeah.
this starting earlier now?
It's starting, yeah, because of the daylight savings time. It's for some reason it's now our time at 10 o'clock instead of 10:30.
Oh, for just a half an hour earlier.
Yeah, I don't quite know how that goes, but yeah. Hey, so Janet, you were saying something there. One other thing.
No, I was just no, I was just going to ask you about when it started, because I tuned in right after 8 and you had already started, and usually it didn't start till 8:30 my time.
Yeah. It's now a little bit earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I appreciate your suggestion about don't react to your reaction, and the sanskaras being hit, and Baba's love is always a balm on everything and everyone.
Yeah, it might be very hard to to keep your emotions from reacting to what plays out in front of you, but at least you don't have to be your reactions. You know, you can feel your reactions, but not be them.
Yeah.
But kind of watch it, and if you can keep a sense of humor, that would, in spite of. I mean, it's not very humorous, but
No, I mean, really, Jeff.
but if you think of how powerless you are, there's something humorous about the fact that someone's turned on a bad movie and there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck in the theater. You want to wait for the next feature, but you got to watch a horror film beforehand.
Okay, I'll keep
You know,
that in
Jeff-
mind, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff, I had
That
a
helps
dream.
a
I had a
lot.
dream this morning that I'd like to share. It's
Yeah.
it's really short. It's really short. So I saw all these people on a bridge, and there were all these construction workers, and they're all working, and some jackhammer people and people working on lights and just rebuilding this bridge that had been broken. And one of these guys was being interviewed by a television news reporter, and sorry, my cat is about to go yowling right now. Hey, you okay? You're okay. Yeah. She's 22 years old. So the guy's being interviewed by the reporter, and they're like, "Why are you doing this? Like, why are you?" And he's like, "I'm out here because I care about other people, because I care about rebuilding our future, and I care about humanity." And he was just so passionate. And he was just this simple, had just this smeared dirt on everything, and he was just so passionate, and his voice and his words moved my heart to weeping, and I started weep. I mean, I don't know where I was, but I was like, I felt this, I felt Baba in this whole thing, and all of a sudden I heard the construction after the destruction, and that's something that Erich talked about, or he mentioned. Somebody asked Erich in one of these talks that I can share eventually, where he was, somebody said, "Hey, Erich, what about the end of the world?" And Erich was like, "Let it come. The sooner it comes, let it come." Like he was just like, and it's like he just was saying that the construction after the destruction, Baba. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
that's, and I woke up with that, but weirdly enough, it sounds a little bit morbid, but I just felt a lot more peace. You know, I've been feeling a lot of anxiety about the whole thing, but
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I
made me
like
feel
it.
very peaceful.
The button isn't stuck on destruction forever.
No, but there's a rebuilding happening. I just felt like, I really felt that. I felt very moved by the depth of people
Yeah.
really do want to help each other. I really feel like innately we really do want to be loving towards and serve one another, you know, because we're ultimately serving him. And it might not seem like that in many people's television sets or radios, but
Yeah.
it really is. I really felt that for a moment. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, thank you, Alan.
Yeah. My dad was a newspaperman and columnist, and he said the thing about newspapers you have to keep in mind is that they always they so often capitalize on the tragedy of others because it makes juicy news, you know. But if they covered all the lovely, beautiful things in life as well, we would feel a lot better about life. But we're seeing it through the lens of the media, and they're looking at a dogfight over there when there's a beautiful meadow over here where we can have a picnic. You know, it's just that way. Bad news sells better than good news. Just normally. Hello, Jeff. Hey, we're just about to head out.
That's fine. I just came for a few minutes and
Yeah.
It's just good to hear everybody and hear the beauty of learning how to not react to reactivity, and that's important. Keep a sense of humor and be in Baba's name and just watch the movie.
I plan to treat myself to a nice meal somewhere or somehow, or bring in something really good as a reward for having endured.
You deserve it.
The next
Definitely.
Huh?
Please eat a good meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
For your sake and Baba's sake, both.
I know my mom used to say, you know, sometimes you just got to treat yourself. On Wednesday, I'm going to treat myself big time, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Whatever.
Good.
Yeah. Hey, so anyway, Alan, great. Like I say, I won't be here next Tuesday, but the following Sunday and Tuesday.
All righty.
I don't know if you were there, Alan, when I wasn't allowed to do Zooming from the center anymore. So I just do it on my nights when I'm here at the house. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I figured you were gonna get caught.
Yeah.
With all the things they're posting on YouTube, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, it's only a matter of days.
I knew my days were numbered.
I thought it, but I didn't want to say it.
Okay, you guys.
Hey Jeff, I have a question actually.
Yeah.
You know, Pendu, there is a Pendu get together next Sunday. So this question popped for me. You know, after the 56 accident, Pendu was basically rendered, you know, mostly disabled. He was not able to do anything. So for a while, he was really depressed because he was not really feeling useful for anything. You know,
Right. Yeah.
I think Adi K. Rani also went through a similar thing, although it was not related to accident. But there was a period of time where he was not really, Baba basically kept him aloof and not giving him any work and things like that. So he kind of felt not useful either. So I was wondering if you have any thoughts on that part where people don't feel useful. Sometimes that happens to me too, where you don't feel useful to people around you or out to the world.
Yeah. I will tell you this story about Pendu that I don't think is written anywhere. But Pendu was Baba's cousin. And in fact, Pendu and his sister Naja, they thought, oh, if Zoroaster comes back, I hope it's Merwan. And they had that feeling like if Zoroaster could come back, it would, they wanted to be Merwan, and sure enough, it turned out that was the case. But Pendu joined Baba, right from when he was about 18. There, he was one of the early Mandali, and living at Lower Mehrabad, and years went by. He was very robust, strong, and he was in charge of a lot of different things at Mehrabad. And one day in 1926, Baba sent him to some distance to check out a well to see whether it was still functioning. And when Pendu went there and he checked out this well, when he looked down and it was empty, he looked down and he had this impulse, powerful impulse to throw himself in the well. It just, so he came back and, Baba asked him, well, how did you check the well? Was there water and everything? And he said, no, but he was shaking. And he said, what's wrong, Pendu? He said, well, when I looked over the edge of the well, I felt like throwing myself in. And Baba said, no, don't worry about that. That's just the pull of gravity. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. If you're on the cliff and you're looking down at, 500 feet below, there's something in you that overtakes you. You actually feel like jumping off. It's just a weird sensation, but it's the power of gravity. But so Baba said to him, no, don't worry. I won't take you for another 30 years. So Baba pacified him. So many years go by and many trips and all of his whole life with Baba. And one day Baba says to him, remember when I sent you out to that well, when you were young at Mehrabad and it came back to Pendu. And I said, I wouldn't take you for another 30 years. And Pendu remembered and he said, well, things have changed and now I can only take part of you. And Pendu said, no, Baba, don't take part of me, take all of me if you're going to take me. No, he said, I can only take part of you. And a week later, Baba got in the accident, 1956, 30 years later. And Pendu was basically crippled for the rest of his life and in great pain. And Dr. Nilu, he was killed outright. And Baba, of course, he suffered the rest of his life with his hip. But so Pendu was he had been so active in serving Baba that he felt so terrible that he would not be able to serve Baba anymore. He'd just be a burden. And he went out, he was sent to Mehrabad, and Dr. Duncan was sent to give him physical therapy, but he refused. He was just so angry that it was useless. There was nothing more that he could do for Baba. He used to do all the darshans and the sahavases and everything. So after some months, Baba calls Pendu to Mehrabad. And as he's being brought in, I mean, he can barely walk. Now, this is kind of, I'm saying this is like postgraduate treatment from Baba. And so he's brought in, and the Mandali, I mean, because Bao describes this, Bao Kalchuri, that Baba kind of signaled to him, don't help him at all. So he comes hobbling into Mandali Hall on his own in great pain. He can barely make it, and he comes, and the chair is in the corner, and he stands in front of Baba. And now, I mean, I'm paraphrasing all this, but Baba says, how are you feeling, Pendu? And Pendu says, I'm, you know, I suffer all the time. I can hardly sleep. I'm in so much pain. And Baba looks at him and said, did you ever think about my suffering? Get out of here. And so he has to leave on his own steam. And when he leaves, Baba says to the other Mandali in Mandali Hall, sometimes to be infinitely compassionate, I have to become infinitely cruel. And so Pendu is brought back out to the car to go back to Mehrabad, but Baba calls him back in and says, I have work for you to do. I'm giving a Sahavas in 1958, and you are to be in charge. And Pendu, he was so overjoyed because he knew now that Baba would have some use for him. So, but he lived, he suffered a lot, but Baba said that he would be one of the perfect masters when he comes again. But imagine, he took, I feel, I mean, this is just my interpretation, he took that tremendous pain and suffering really for his cousin, for Baba, so that Baba would be able to have, to be able to be able to walk around and be able to be with what can I say? He took a lot of the suffering that enabled Baba to be able to, what can I say? Able to continue seeing people and giving darshan and everything. But he took a tremendous blow and all of that. It injured his tongue, so it was very hard to understand him. But when he would sit over under the clock, and I experienced when I went over to hug Pendu, and I have to kneel down, and when I would hug him, I would feel some body in me would go all the way into the interior of him, into this warm ocean, and I would be there for a little while, and then I would come back, and the embrace would be over. So his interior was nothing but ocean. Behind that, that disabled form. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, they were giants. They were very great souls. I mean, I've said this before that I was working on Bao Kalchuri one time in one of the back rooms at the trust, and I was massaging him, so I had him in my clutches, and he was lying face down on a cot, and I said, Bao, I'm going to quote to you a famous Sufi line, and you tell me if you found it true for you in the Mandali. Suffering is he, happiness is from him. Suffering is he, happiness is from him. And I said, did you find that to be true for you in the Mandali? And Bao, he was there on the cot, and he said poignantly, we were only aware of his suffering. Year in and year out, day in and day out, moment to moment. We were only aware of his suffering. But if someone came to Merzad, they got the happiness from him. And so they were all bearing tremendous suffering in being around Baba, but by choice. Yeah.
You remember that poem, Jeff, that you shared by Sarmad?
Yeah. Yeah, this is Priya. This is talk about dying before you die. This is a poem by a Sufi. In the battle of love, none but the lovers are slain. The weak and wicked escape from injury. O you who are the true lover, flee not from the battle. Those who are not killed are dead to love. In the battle of love, none but the lovers are slain. The weak and wicked escape from injury. O you who are the true lover, flee not from the battle. Those who are not killed are dead to love. But I mean, don't let that stuff terrify you. This election is enough to terrify you.
No, that's immensely helpful. Thank you for that story.
Yeah, no, they were great, very great souls, but they were so deeply human, beautifully human. Like, you know, on Christmas, for example, you'd come out there on the bus at Merzad, and Penda would be there with a Santa Claus hat and everything.
Yeah.
Playing Santa Claus. You know, can you imagine Matthew and Luke and Mark and, you know, playing Santa Claus? It's much more natural and human and fun loving than the four gospels give Jesus and his disciples credit for. Yeah. Hey, so I think I better go. Great.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
About Adi was kept aloof only in the last days of the Baba's last this thing.
Yeah.
And I still remember Adi was telling that he used to weep in the bathrooms, locked in this thing. Baba's asked him to stay away from him. And ultimately realized only Baba after Baba dropped his body, why Baba has kept him. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. This is something, I mean, Adi in the last couple of years, he would be called out to Merzad. He'd go out there and Baba said, what's he doing here? Yeah, you know, send him back. He'd come back and he'd weep in his room or in the bathroom for days. And he'd go get called out again. And Baba said, what's he doing? I didn't call him. Did I call him? And he'd be sent back. But that happened in the last two. But because of that, he got so strong internally that when Baba dropped his body, when so many others were so stricken with grief and dysfunctional, he had that strength to be able to answer all the correspondence and make the arrangements and everything. He said Baba did that so that he would be able to do that work for the worldwide, all the people from all over the world who were contacting him. And he had the strength to carry it out. And only then did he know why that apparent cruelty was really a blessing from Baba. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
We're giants. That was the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, now you guys go all off to
Thank you, Jeff.
yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
For dinner.
Okay.
See you
A
around.
good dinner, Jeff.
See you
Good
next
dinner.
week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jai
thank
Baba.
you.
Thank you, Baba.
Love to Adrian.
Avatar, Meher
Jai
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Avatar.
Thank you, Jeff.
Meher Baba ki jai.
Well, it was nice to chat with all you. It's been a little while.